There we go. Awesome. Our live hello audience. Yeah, so we have a pretty fullish schedule today. A lot of announcements though, since we're just coming up on the Collab Summit over in Berlin fairly soon. So I'd love to, which I'm psyched about. I'd love to kick it off though with the usual initiative updates. So starting from the top here, Ben, if you want to, give an update on I18N and the chat we had last night and where it's all moving.
Woohoo! Yes. Getting back in the swing of things with internationalization, and there's, I guess, first of all, really excited for the Collab Summit to come up. We're going to have some representatives of the I18N working group and ECMA 402 coming and facilitating not only pushing internationalization of our text and our documentation and our site and all that kind of stuff, also getting more into how we can facilitate meeting the needs of the ECMA 402 specification, the INTL JavaScript library, pushing that forward as well, and how we can sync more. So really excited to get that going with people in Berlin. That's going to be rad. Adam and I just met last night and talked over how we're going to start pushing the setting up internationalization for the website. And so there's just a few steps to get in place for that. Nothing too crazy. Mostly, a lot of the work is there, but we just need to provide a few things for him to get that going. And then also, I think the biggest thing I would like to create an issue here soon for ComCom is to find a social push and some momentum for translation help and recognizing sort of our moderators and people who are, able to push translation in our crowd-in project. So all that to say, it's time to push for more translation help, and we're going to get this stuff hooked up with websites soon.
Awesome. And caveat with the website means node.js.dev, the website redesign stuff, not node.js.org. It's a clarification there. I don't see Ahmad on the call, but quick call. Do we have a mentorship update from someone who might have contest? Yay, nay? That would be a nay. Cool. Moving on, we have a couple Node.js collection conversation topics on the agenda, so we'll skip over the update there. Outreach, I can give an update for. We skipped the meeting this week because it is Ramadan, and times would have gotten shifted to crazy hours, and I also could not make it. So we are going to be reconvening at the Collab Summit and talking more there about the project and the hallway track for it. I do not see Dan for user feedback on the call, unfortunately. Anybody with context on
user feedback? Update on that front.
Awesome.
We did the first sort of in meetup session. I guess Dan's report was we didn't get quite as much feedback as we would have liked to. We had a good discussion about that in the last meeting. There's actually, I think, a number of meetups lining up to sort of do the same thing. So we exchanged some ideas and thoughts about how to try and get more of that feedback flowing in a structured way. So I'm still optimistic that through the next ones we'll start to see more of that coming in. I can't remember since the last meeting, but there was also the subgroup which is focused on enterprise met and agreed to get back together, I think, monthly. So that's sort of kicking off as well.
Awesome.
Can I make a quick addendum to that? Also, we are having the facilitating user feedback session at the Portland meetup, Node.js meetup that I run this next month. So that'll be really exciting. And please connect with me if you want to talk through anything beforehand. I would love to connect.
Yep. Thanks. Has anybody? Yeah, I guess did you see the discussion in the last meeting? The last feedback meeting. Otherwise, it might make sense for us to just touch base for a few minutes.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I wasn't able to make that meeting.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, let's try and connect.
In Vancouver, we were planning to run one this month, but it got pushed because we had more speakers than we intended. So we were planning to do one next month. And if y'all have artifacts around that, so like slides and or content, would be great to have it. Also, if I need added context, I'm happy to hop on the same meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I think we were going to try and pull the deck that that James had put together to use and put that into a form that could be used in some of the later sessions.
Super.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Good update. And then Manil, you want to give a quick website redesign debrief?
Yeah, sure. I'll keep it brief, folks. So last website redesign meeting, which was last Thursday, it was mainly infrastructure discussion. We're just integrating Prettier to make it easier for folks to jump in and start contributing without having to worry too much about like how we format and how we do syntax. Also, we needed to figure out how Google Cloud Build is running. So I think there is still a takeaway to figure that out and who has the permissions to make that run. And we're going to write docs on that also to help folks get working on that without having to worry about what it's connected to. And the last bit was creating a data contract for how the API documentation will be consumed, and that's related to the I-18N discussion that happened just earlier, because a big chunk of that is consuming internationalized content. That's all.
Yeah, awesome. Any more updates from across the projects before we dive into agenda? Awesome, silence is golden. Awesome, let's dive in then. Our meeting issue ticket is issue number 479 over in ComCom. Just dropped a link into the chat there. First things first, we have issue 364 over in Node.js admin. Michael, you wanted to use this time for an announcement. Would you go ahead and take it away?
Yep, sorry, I just wanted to mention 364 for everybody's awareness. It's an issue I opened in the admin repo to discuss how we elect the board representative for Node.js. The CPC is bootstrapped, so it's now the right time to sort of move on to that. And there's some discussions in there already. You know, well, I think the first suggestion was that, you know, just everybody, one vote for each of the TSC and ComCom members. Somebody did point out, of course, though, that there's more TSC members, so it might not be quite that straightforward. So I just wanted to have it on the agenda here so people are aware and can sort of chime into that discussion, so we work to figure out how we're going to do that.
Awesome. Thank you for calling attention to that. Need a quick read right now because I didn't see it either.
Yeah, I'll probably dive into that too because I'm sure I have thoughts.
Yeah. That'll be a fun thread.
Yeah, I mean, it's just about, it's a very, you know, it's a different dynamic. We've never, generally speaking, had to vote together with TSC and ComCom. You always have to be careful with elections around popularity contest versus like appropriateness of skills and making sure that we manage expectations around what the role should be and versus like what it is, right? Like what the world that we're operating in.
Mm-hmm.
And then like we've tried a number of election models anyway, I think between the TSC and ComCom, whether it's like, you know, this sort of stack ranking versus, you know, choose one individual sort of thing.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The TSC ComCom members by 5 people, 18 to 42. Yeah, I just looked that up.
Yeah, that'll be interesting on how to ensure equal voice in both committees.
Well, I think that's part of the argument is like, I don't think it's a bad thing that there's more TSC members than ComCom members.
Mhm.
Because arguably that, you know, but I think then you just have the problem where you don't want to encourage odd behavior, like making sure we have more community members so that there's more vote for a board member.
Right, yeah.
And that
Yeah.
isn't true to the outcome that we want, right?
No.
Yeah.
You don't want that. You don't want that like sort of weird arbitrary behavior happening to manipulate a vote when what we're trying to do is just have the best person for the role. And I think that's a part of like maybe some sort of small group who ensures that like the messaging anytime that a director for selection is coming into play, that the team is careful to message that everyone who's running for the position, you know, should be considered for these types of qualifications versus like a technical versus community slant, because the person in that role is going to be responsible for both.
Yeah, basically you're representing across the two areas. So
yeah, and so they would need to be, you know, good about collaborating with everyone and ensuring that we're hitting all of the current needs of the project, which, you know, ebbs and flows, and whether it's more around, you know, release challenges or you know, code of conduct. You know, we've seen these things over the years, and we're in a new phase. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we'll keep our eyes on that space to discuss process. So if you have strong feelings on how it should or should not be run, or what qualifications should be focused on, especially this round, feel free to chime in there. Thank you for for raising it to our attention, Michael.
Yep.
Awesome. There's our recurring issue number 448 for discussing Collab Summit process, which we've just been using as a stub ticket to get status update. Manil, I believe you're still the one with the most context on how all this is progressing. You want to give a quick talk as to where things are at right now?
Totally. We've started. Hey, folks. We are having our Collaborator Summit in Berlin. So we have 2 every year. Collab Summit Berlin 2019 is happening in less than 2 weeks now. I believe on the 30th in Germany. And we've started scheduling the sessions that people have been proposing. So there is a draft agenda for folks to look at in terms of timing for your session, if you've proposed one. If you haven't yet proposed a session, please do go propose a session. I'm dropping the link in here. Please do go propose a session, you know, that like for initiative that you're involved in, not just like a random session. So we're scheduling the sessions. There's still plenty of time in terms of like availability on the schedule, but the proposals will stop being accepted after the 20th. That's just so we can optimize the schedule for folks who want to attend multiple sessions. A survey will be going out to the people who have registered on Eventbrite. You'll be able to find the Eventbrite link in issue 152 at the link I just dropped in chat. So if you register in Eventbrite, your email will be on the list to where the survey will go, and you'll be able to pick the sessions that you want to go to. So we might be reorganizing what those sessions look like for the 2 days that the summit is running. There's also going to be a Ask Me Anything session for core subsystems. So if you're involved in certain core subsystems for Node and want to answer questions from other collaborators, there is probably at least an hour going to be dedicated to that. I think that's a good opportunity to help other collaborators from different parts of the project maybe help you out, because they have the familiarity with the project itself and they know more or less how stuff is done. They just might not be familiar with your subsystem. So that's a good way to onboard them if you want it. We'll also have our friends from the rest of OpenJS. This will be the first year we're collaborating with OpenJS. So there will be projects not Node.js present there, and they might be interested in getting started in some of our processes as well. We're not yet sure if the core subsystems discussion will involve their projects. It might be an entirely separate session. I think the core subsystems discussion is more likely to be appropriate for Node.js. Any questions from folks? Travel fund available still, please apply. Also, you should book your hotels because I think it's being hosted it's being hosted at a hotel venue this time, as opposed to previously where it was offices. And if you want to stay close to the action, maybe book in the same hotel if you can. Any questions?
Awesome. Thank you for the update. I do have one.
Sorry.
Go for it, Michael.
I had one question on that before we move on. Are all the ones that were requested already scheduled into that, or is it kind of just still being built?
All the ones that have been proposed have been scheduled so far. All the requests for changes have also been scheduled. Have been done. So sometimes there's some overlap because some folks, they might not necessarily be facilitating a session, but they might be particularly requested for that session. So we're moving things around just to make sure that happens.
Okay. That's if they're not there, then people should speak up. I just wanted to make sure that was the case.
Oh, if a session that has been proposed by you has not showed up, you should speak up. Yes, totally.
Okay, great.
Please let us know if we haven't scheduled them yet. The schedule that we have, Joe just posted it very helpfully. Thank you, Joe. The draft agenda has multiple sheets. The first sheet shows the schedule. The second sheet shows a list of, I believe, issues, scheduled sessions that were proposed via GitHub. And if in the very left column, it'll show if it's scheduled or not. And the third sheet right now has everything that's been submitted by form. So we have tried to keep those as current as possible. And if in the first column it's marked as scheduled, then it's in the first sheet slotted in.
A quick question on in the main room at 1 o'clock on the 30th is the OpenJS Foundation CPC session. Is that a 3-hour session?
That is unlikely to be a 3-hour session, but the way we're scheduling it is we're dropping stuff in there with as much room in between as possible, and we'll only squeeze when it's necessary to. So if more sessions get proposed, then we'll squeeze up the time. But we'd like to give each session as much time unless something else needs the slot right after them. So I'm trying to space them out right now.
Yeah, I need to be in the Promises one that happens at 2 o'clock, that time slot. So,
okay. So that's probably something that the survey will help highlight. But if you do feel very strongly about that, I'd suggest dropping your handle into the column on the very right of each day. There is a column that says requested. I think it says requested. I created that column when yesterday someone made a request that they wanted the facilitator of one particular session involved in their session. And there was no other way to highlight that other than dropping it there to show that there's a dependency in terms of people.
So sorry, you mentioned a survey that's going to go out soon, or?
Yes, I believe there's one person who made that last year, and they offered to make it this year. I don't have a deadline on when that's supposed to go out, but that's probably a good thing to take to the next meeting. I'm going to make a note and ask if they're going to be able to do that by next week, so we're not too rushed. We do have less than 14 days. So.
Yeah. And yeah, if you see more things like Joe, your conflict with Promises in the CPC session, Manil, do you want people to just reach out directly to you as our kind of liaison to this process, or is there a different channel?
That's really okay. I'm helping to do the scheduling from the Node.js side right now. If anyone on the YouTube call is in the OpenJS, is in the former XGSF side of stuff, please reach out to Jory Burson. And between all of us in the planning committee, we should be able to get stuff sorted out. I'm wondering, folks, if you feel, right now we have 70-ish registrants on Eventbrite. I'm wondering if y'all feel like that's accurate, or if that's going to jump up in the last minute when people decide they want to come. We have been in the planning team. There are some folks who who haven't historically been very familiar with Node.js because they've come from other OpenJS projects. And we've been trading stories of like, they think like folks should be registering early, whereas on the Node.js side, we have historically thought that folks register pretty last minute. But at this point, if folks haven't registered 2 weeks before, do we think it's going to move at all?
We may get some who just haven't registered at all show up.
Okay, so that is totally.
Because I just even like, it wasn't long ago that Tierney said, well, I've just showed up in the past, that worked out. Right. So I think some people will just assume based on the past that they, or didn't know they had to register or whatever. So I don't know how many though.
We might want to do a couple more blasts of the registration link to members, and just to try and get as complete of a picture as we can.
Well, what things does that affect? I mean, from those numbers, it sounds like the rooms would be big enough to hold more, right?
Yes, the rooms will definitely be big enough. At 70, we have excess capacity. The books, we've planned for 100 this time because of the extra large number of projects. I think the concern more is that this is the Collab Summit, which has used the most budget by far. We're doing it in a hotel. We needed more space, that sort of thing. We're trying to get mics so we can like facilitate it for folks properly, like remote folks. In the past, it's been very patchwork. We've said we're going to support folks who are participating remotely, but the experience has been, to be honest, quite crap. We were not able to hear them, if y'all remember. And if they try to speak, it's like a lot of noise. So we're trying to make that better this year, especially because a lot of people can't make it. Like with the increased footprint of our project, some folks are in places where it's difficult to like travel at short notice. So we're trying to just make it easier across the board. So long story short, it's a bigger budget, and having it underattended would not look good, I think, to the new board. So like our budget for next time might be more restrictive. And I think that's a main concern.
Okay, so it's not, you're not
worried. A couple more blasts of the sign-up thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Sorry, Michael, were you saying something?
I was going to say, so the concern isn't that more people than we think show up. It's just that the current numbers aren't as high as we'd like them to be.
Yeah.
So that one, I'm not like, at this point, I'm not sure. Like, I suspect we'll get some who weren't registered, but I doubt it's going to be more than like 25% or something, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I think we just need to send out that link a few more times to make sure we have an accurate count, and assume that we might get a few people at the door show up. Generally with events like this, you kind of assume that some people will sign up and then not actually show. But I think for this particular event, since they're traveling to Berlin anyway, like everybody who signs up for the most part. So yeah, just people won't complain about spam if you send the link out a couple more times over the next 2 weeks.
By sending the link out, in the past, I've just made issues in working groups and initiative repos. Maybe email might be a good escalation right now. Send it like directly to email.
There's also the collaborators chat tool in GitHub, which we can use at least for the Node project. And what is that? I forget what GitHub calls it, which you can use as well.
Yeah.
Teams. Yeah, that's it. So if you want to escalate, it's a good mode to do it in as well. There is one other issue I wanted to talk about concerning Collab Summit. I just made this ticket literally 5 minutes ago. Issue 481. So the next ComCom meeting is on the first day of Collab Summit. And I just want to kind of get consensus here for how we want to treat that. It's technically like, I think 5 or 6 p.m. Berlin time. So we could either just say, cancel it completely. We'll all be hanging out anyway. At least everybody who's there. We could try and schedule something for that night for us to do if there's not something already planned for that night, which I'm not sure if I'm aware of. Or how do people feel about how we should handle that?
Cancel. Sorry, we're all going to be there. I mean, a majority of people will probably be there. Usually in the evening times, as I recall last time, things sort of roll off into let's get this, maximize this time together. So I think trying to add a, formal meeting in that time might not be the best.
Awesome. I'm
I
inclined
just
to agree.
skipping too.
Cool. I will remove it from the calendar.
That if it was 5 o'clock, if it was at 5 o'clock, I might have been willing to say, well, it's the last hour. I might as well do something casual, because in past collab summits, we have done a session. But it wasn't at the usual time. But I just checked the time. It's going to be 6:30 in Berlin, and we're going to be at dinner, which is already scheduled.
Cool. Okay. I will go ahead and remove it from the calendar, and we'll do the usual casual hangouts. Nifty. Moving from calendar and just capturing it in the ticket. Awesome. Before we move on, any last collab summit thoughts, hopes, prayers, or dreams? Nah? Cool. Next issue on the agenda is number 444. This is the Node.js social media community collaboration. Rachel posted an update. There's a Google Docs link in the latest comment. Rachel, you want to give a quick synopsis of what you're looking for here?
Sure. So just real quick, earlier this year, we talked about having some rotating social chairs to help with our social media efforts, help curate technical content that's relevant to the community. And then, so based on that, we put together a draft blog, which I posted. And really, I'm just, looking for some feedback on, how people are feeling about it. Is that the right direction that we want to go? And just want to use this forum to kind of gather that feedback and see if anybody, has anybody had a chance to review it? And if so, what are our thoughts for next steps? Because I know that this has been open for a little while, and I would love to just, put some solid next steps ahead of it.
Yeah, I think it's time to do it, and I'm excited to make it happen. I closed out kind of a similar issue. It was for issue 411. It's kind of in the same vein, and I'd imagine you're probably going to be using Sprout Social or something similar to help facilitate this. Is that correct?
So currently what we do today is we do have a Sprout Social account that we schedule through. And so, we would probably, how it would work is we would, people would nominate themselves to be a social chair, and it would last about a quarter. And, we would give those folks access, limited access, there would be like checks and balances in place as far as, being able to post and things like that. But I also saw Tierney commented about another tool to help, gather some of this content. So, there are more than one way to do this. So if there are other ideas, I'm certainly all ears. But Sprout Social would be the primary tool that we would use to schedule it, if that makes sense, versus gathering the content. But to schedule it, we would definitely use.
Is there a regular meeting of the media team that these co-chairs would be expected or want to attend?
Could you repeat that? Is there a meeting?
Sorry, Is there like an additional meeting of the media team every other week or every month or something that somebody the co-chair would be expected or want to attend, or is it a bit more? I mean, async.
We haven't really gotten to that conversation. I mean, I think it's probably a good idea to have some sort of touch point with me and maybe other folks within the foundation, just to kind of talk through what we're seeing and just to get like aligned. So we could. It's not part of the plan currently, but I could see it going that way.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming this is. I mean, it's the first time we'll be trying something like this, so it'll evolve over time and as we see fit.
For sure.
Yeah. Awesome. So you're looking for just ComCom review for like, let's do this first round.
Yeah. So I mean, really just wanting to make sure that this is aligned with, you know, what we've talked about. Everybody's comfortable with it. I know in previous meetings we've talked a little bit about, you know, do we really want to thank folks with swag? You know, do we want to take that out? You know what I mean? I really just want people's feedback as far as how this looks and feels for, you know, for the group. And so, so my ask is to get in there and really, you know, provide some feedback to the blog and ask those questions, or ask them now, and let's hammer it out so that, you know, when we do roll it out, you know, we're feeling good about it. That's really my goal.
Awesome. Cool. Well,
so is there anything, I mean, yeah, so it's quiet, so I'm not sure if folks just want to take, you know, so in addition to this, I should probably point out that while we're going to have a session at the Collaborator Summit to talk about this. So there might be some interesting ideas that come out of that too. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind before we, you know, potentially make big sweeping changes. Maybe there's going to be some good ideas that come out of that maybe we can incorporate. So.
Yeah, I've come to learn that quiet on the video chat either means consensus or people are reading. So
okay, right on.
You know, judging from the count of folks with the doc open, I'd say it's the latter. But yeah,
okay.
let's add comments into the blog post. It'd be awesome if this could launch soon after Collab Summit, and we could start this for Q3.
I was just going to ask if we could
Yeah.
set a timeline, because I think it'd be good to say, like, the plan is a week after Collab Summit or something like that. So if people have objections, make sure you jump in before that.
Does that timeline sound good?
So are you saying, just for clarification, are you saying to have the plan ready a week before Collab Summit, or after we get all of that feedback a week after?
Yeah, a week after is what I meant to say.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
basically say,
I think that's great.
You know, it'll be discussed there. Who knows what comes out, but you know, unless people comment before then, the assumption will be that it's a good to go.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great idea.
Awesome. That sounds great to me. The one kind of part that stood to me, if we're doing, I think we do have time for a little bit of feedback right now. The one part that stood out to me is that $50 voucher. I think it's not a bad thing. I think like that's not why people are going to be doing it. But it's a, you know, I don't know if it, the sentence kind of stood out to me in the release here.
Yeah,
it felt a little out of place. I don't think it's a bad to have.
It's the same with me, just because we don't do it anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not, you know, it's not like that. If everybody else thought it was a great idea, I'm fine. It's just that it makes me slightly uncomfortable that we don't do it somewhere else, and will somebody look at that and say, well, why this and not those other places?
Yeah, I think it might be a good thing to keep as a part of the program, because I think it's a nice thank you for putting in that amount of extra time and effort. It feels a little out of place in the blog post itself. It's like come work 5 hours a week and then
anyway, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
that's totally fair.
I think it'd be great if we had a program where we could give out something like that, you know, some number per quarter. You know, I know, you know, Rich does on Twitter, like, here's the appreciation of the week or something like that. And
yeah,
I think it would actually be good
community
to regularly give out maybe one a month or whatever to somebody who's made an extra contribution would be really good.
Yeah, that could be.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Node.js Rockstar Awards.
Yeah, exactly. Something like, hey, special thank you. We know everybody's, contributing, but we just want to call out this month to this person or something like that. And then.
Yeah. I love that idea. Michael, you want to open up a stub issue for that in the repo, and so we don't lose it? I think that could be a cool initiative to start. Yeah, that could be fun. Cool. Yeah, we'll provide feedback in the stock, and we'll look forward to launching it after Collab Summit. Psych.
Perfect.
Awesome. And last but not least on the agenda, number 439. I threw this back on because Rachel, you also repinged this thread. If you want to just give a quick PSA about the reader survey and ask, broadcast any questions you have here to up-level the ask.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, certainly in line with this social collaborator stuff, we're trying to streamline and clean up the node.js collection process. But in addition to that, there's a content consideration too. And so as part of that, we would like to open up a reader survey to basically just make sure that the stuff that is coming in aligns with what people want to hear about. And then also just spread the word that, we're looking for contributors, and, this is the place for you to potentially, put some good stuff out there. So I posted a reader survey, and the idea here would be to post it on the blog, and then, tweet it out as well. And then also just reach out to people who have contributed in the past. And just get some feedback as far as like what we're putting out there, and kind of, inform some of the future content that we do, so that we could put more process around, different topics. And so we can kind of drive around, we can kind of push things forward that way. So that's been posted. Feedback, obviously welcome. Again, with the Collaborator Summit, I think that that's another opportunity for us to get additional feedback from a broader audience potentially. So yeah, I mean, really just want folks to take a look at that, provide feedback. And then I like the idea of maybe after the Collaborator Summit, a deadline on that as well to wrap that up, because I think that is just good timing. Yeah, so any thoughts or feedback on that would be super appreciated, either here or in the document.
Awesome. And would the hope be to solicit content in line with the results of the survey, rather than just kind of take whatever rolls in, or like what are the actions to take after?
Yeah, so I think the idea is to make sure that when stuff is coming in, that it aligns with what our readers want, and just make sure that the content is quality from a technical standpoint and otherwise too. That's not, I mean, there's some other, that's the reader survey part of it. I think there's another portion of it that we kind of need to dive back into, which is the process piece of it. Right now, we are not utilizing some of the collaboration and automation of the Medium platform, which I know that we've talked about several different times. And so that's just another, so there's the content piece of it, but there's also the process piece of it that we need to think through. And that there have been some recommendations already made, and I'm happy to sort of raise those up and just see if that, if that's kind of the way we want to go. Again, after Collaborator Summit, once we kind of get additional feedback.
I'd say let's set the same deadline, like week after Collab Summit for launching. We can actually stage the actual publication of it, so we don't stomp on the social media announcement as well. But
yeah,
like a similar deadline would be good for that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's really all I have, and I'm looking forward to everybody's feedback and getting this thing wrapped up.
Yes, I'm eager for closure on these tickets as well. Awesome. That is everything on our agenda today. And unless folks have issues that they want to bring up at the end here, we can have our 15 minutes back. Any other topics people want to discuss from across the org before we call it a meeting? Like I said, silence either means consensus or reading. So since there's no doc up right now, I'd say that's a no. Cool. I'm gonna cut the live stream. Thank you everybody on YouTube for listening in. We'll see you next
later
time at the Collab Summit.
Bye.
Bye.